There's no UFC card this Saturday, but that doesn't mean we get to take the week off. We got 6 title fights going down in the PFL, and I'm going to give you a little betting breakdown of those 6 fights. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than the normally scheduled program. Usually with UFC, I'll give you the early picks, I'll give you the official picks, and then I'll give you a best bet show. Today, we're going to go through every one of these 6 title fights, and I'm going to give you my betting insight based on the matchups, based on the odds. So I'll show you the matchups, I'll show you the odds, and I'll let you know where my head is at with all the odds, because that's really what matters. You know, what do I think about these odds? Because at the end of the day, you know, I could pick a minus 600 favorite, and what does that really mean? Like, yeah, he should win the fight. So I think he's going to win the fight. He's a minus 600 favorite. Not really anything too crazy there. But maybe I'll give you some insight on if there's a value on the line, or if I think there's value on the dog. But either way, let's hop right into it. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. PFL website is low-key looking better than the UFC website, not going to lie. But first title fight we got on the line is the heavyweight championship. Denis Goltsov taking on Oleg Popov. I think it's a great matchup. Goltsov is a guy that's been here before. He fought for the championship last year against Renan Ferreira. And your boy cashed on Renan Ferreira. Renan Ferreira was like a plus 180 underdog. Goltsov is a massive dude for heavyweight. Obviously, the OV last name is perfect to look at. Both dudes from Russia. I think Goltsov is a very, very solid fighter overall. I mean, he's got big power on the feet, and he has better wrestling than the average heavyweight, I would say. As for Popov, Popov is a guy that just came into the UFC after fighting in Bellator when they merged, joined the tournament this year, and he's on a massive win streak. This guy is teammates with Valentin Moldavsky. Moldavsky was a champion in Bellator, and they kind of assumed that Moldavsky would be the guy in the championship, but it turns out that Popov is the guy, so they're both teammates under Fedor Emelianenko, so you got a great coach there. This guy, Popov, very unassuming. Like, you look at this guy, I mean, he's not the biggest guy. I mean, he's like 6'1". I mean, he's about 245, 250. But the dude's wrestling is levels above a lot of these heavyweights. And that's pretty much how he wins all of his fights. On the feet, he's not a bad striker. He's pretty light on his feet. Decent boxing. He's not a guy that's going to be going in there throwing haymakers, trying to knock you out. All of it is to try to set up some sort of takedown, whether it's a single leg, a double leg, or to just run you up against the cage and try to pick you down and put you to the ground. Once he is on the ground, he is pretty solid. I mean, he's got really good top pressure. He likes to get into the crucifix position. That's how he put out Steve Mowry earlier this year. Steve Mowry, another massive guy, 6'7", 6'8", someone like that. So he's used to fighting big guys. That's what Goltsov is in this one. And I think this is a really, really solid matchup. Really, I think it really comes down to Goltsov early in the fight, if he can have success, if he can knock him out in the first or second round. But after that, I think it's going to be Popov all the way. I think Popov's wrestling and cardio is going to be the difference here. So let's take a look at the betting line. We got Goltsov. So it's pretty much a pick'em. It's pretty much a pick'em. And I could somewhat agree with it, but I do think Popov should be favored here, just considering it's a championship fight. It's 5 rounds. These are 2 of the best guys that they have in PFL. I don't really see Goltsov going in there and sparking Popov in the first or second round. If he does, I think that's kind of his win condition. But I think Popov has faced these types of guys before to where he knows what he has to do. He has to stay safe on the feet, be in and out with the jab, little lead hook, level change, get him down to the ground and just grind on him, grind on him, grind on him. And as the fight, every minute that goes off on the clock, it's just favoring Popov for a 5-round fight. So I got to go with Popov in this one. He'll be my pick. And honestly, at minus 115, I think that's a decent bet. I think it's a decent bet considering, I mean, all things considered. I mean, Popov's never been finished. He has a great coach. He has great game plans. He's a guy that'll stick to the game plan. He's not going to go out there. He's a wrestler through and through. Okay, he's not going to go out there and just all of a sudden become a striker when he's fighting for $1 million. I like that Goltsov has been here before, and Goltsov is dangerous, and he has better wrestling than the average heavyweight. But I just don't know that his cardio is going to be able to hold up against Popov, who once he gets into the rhythm of chaining takedowns, getting top pressure, doing damage. I just don't know that his cardio is going to be able to hold up. So I'll take Popov, and I do think there is some value on his line at minus 115. Moving on. We got Brent Primus and Yagshimuradov. I wouldn't say it's the greatest matchup, but I think Rabadanov is a guy that is just very, very tough to beat. Like, I mean, he's an OV, okay? He's a guy that has pretty solid striking and very solid wrestling. And I look at Brent Primus, he's aging. I think he's about 38, 39. I mean, his matchups throughout the season have been very, very favorable. I think he beat Bruno Miranda. He can't grapple. Solomon Renfro, not the greatest grappler. And then his last time out was Clay Collard. Clay Collard can't grapple for anything. So, I mean, at his base, Brent Primus needs to get the fight to the ground to have success. Do we really think he's going to be taking down an OV and having success on the ground? Probably not. And I think his cardio isn't really going to match Rabadanov either. You know, for a 5-round fight, I think even if Rabadanov drops an early round, Brent Primus is not going to be looking the best into round 4 and 5. I mean, I think Rabadanov is going to be a lot faster on the feet. I think he's going to be just sharper overall. I think he can get takedowns on Brent if he wants to. I would assume he's probably just going to go in there and try to win a striking battle because I don't think Brent is going to be too dangerous on the feet. He's never been the greatest striker, and I think he's just going to be a lot slower. Let's take a look at the betting line. I'm using Hard Rock, and Hard Rock is, if you're in Florida, you know, but like Hard Rock is the communist app here in Florida because it's the only legal sports betting app you can use in Florida. So at the odds right now, Rabadanov, pretty hefty favorite, minus 550. Brent Primus, plus 375. You'll probably get better odds somewhere else. But based on that, you know, I don't really think there's a ton of upside playing Rabadanov at minus 550. Maybe you could take him inside the distance considering it's a 5-round fight. Rabadanov is a guy that usually goes to a decision. But last time out, he did land a nice little left hook and put away Michael Dufort, I think it was. One of the Canadians guys. I forget the other one. But he put him away with a nice little left hook. And that was wild to me because Rabadanov was like decision. But now this is a 5-round fight. If Brent Primus does gas out after the 3rd round into those later rounds, you know, maybe Rabadanov does just put a stamp on it and put him away. So maybe Rabadanov inside the distance. I haven't checked out an over-under. Obviously, we don't have them here on the Hard Rock app. But either way, I think Rabadanov is the clear side. Minus 550, again, I don't think there's a ton of value on that one. But, you know, he could easily go out there and look minus 1,000. Brent Primus is a good guy. He's been around the block a long time. But he's 39. I just don't really see a way where he matches the speed. Rabadanov can negate the wrestling, grappling that Brent Primus needs to have success. So that's what I got on that one. I mean, it's not really one that I'll probably be too invested in, but that's the breakdown for that one. Move on. This is a lot better fight. 2 OV or 1 OV, 1 EV. And Shamil Musaev, bro. This guy, just look at this picture. Okay, this guy clearly has gyno. When he came onto the scene, this is the first year he's been in PFL. He's an undefeated guy. He has 1 draw on his record. He fought Logan Storley the first week of the season. I think he was like a plus 180, plus 200 underdog to Logan Storley. Not too many people knew who he was. But the dude literally has boobs. And this vein right here, it's not really shown on this picture. But when you watch him on Friday, this vein's going to be popping. I'm like, how do you have boobs and you have veins popping out of your chest at the same time? Okay, this dude's clearly on something. And it was very evident in that Logan Storley fight. The dude has crazy knockout power. And then he fights Yagshimuradov. He's a slight underdog in that fight. I'm like, this dude's on juice. And he showed really good takedown defense against Logan Storley. Rabadanov needs wrestling success to win this fight. So if he could stuff the takedowns, he could easily knock out Rabadanov. What does he do? Stuffs the takedowns, knocks out Rabadanov. And then in the playoff fight, I guess, he rematches Rabadanov, and he's like a minus 350 favorite everyone kind of knows the deal there. He's going to stuff takedowns. He's going to outstrike him. This time, he couldn't knock him out. But his cardio didn't look terrible. Like, both guys definitely slowed down after the first 7.5 minutes. But Musaev still had some explosive movements in him into the third round. Not enough to land a bunch of combinations to get him out of there. But just watching that, I'm like, this dude is clearly on some serious sauce. Okay, because he's got crazy knockout power, and he has decent cardio. Something ain't adding up. Okay, Musaev is on some shit. On the other side, Umalatov is a guy that's been in the PFL for a long time. Okay, he's undefeated. He is a guy that the PFL has looked at, and they're like, this is our best welterweight. And he's had to pull out of fights. He's missed the chance to fight for $1 million. He's never lost a fight in PFL. He's undefeated. But he's battled some injuries. He's had to pull out of fights, so he's never been in this position before. And it's crazy that now he's in this position where they wanted him to be this entire time. And he's a pretty he's a moderate underdog. You could say sizable. We'll take a look at the betting odds. Let's pull him up right here. He's plus 200. He's plus 200. I think he was minus 3,500 his last fight against Neiman Gracie. And now he's plus 200 to Shamil Musaev, who wasn't in the PFL a year ago. Very weird to me. Very weird to me. I actually expected Umalatov to maybe be a favorite in this spot, just considering the respect he's gotten throughout his career. And then just because Shamil Musaev has come into the UFC, knocked out 2 guys, and won a decision, now he's a near 3-1 favorite to a guy in Umalatov who has been the talk of the PFL welterweight division for forever. Very weird to me. Very weird to me. So personally, 5-round fight, I don't know that I would take Musaev at minus 275. Like, it just seems way too much recency bias. I think you're paying a pretty high premium for him here against a guy in Umalatov who has never lost a fight. Very solid striker. Very solid wrestler. I mean, he really had a lot of success with his hands earlier on in his career, was knocking dudes out like nothing. And then most recently this season, he's kind of gone the wrestling path. So I don't know if that's just because he wanted to take less risks throughout the fight or throughout the season. So maybe he could stay healthy wrestling these guys to decisions or getting some submission. He got a submission his second time out. I don't know what it is. But Umalatov, very, very solid overall fighter. Like, he can knock you out on the feet. He could take you down. And I think his best path here is to be in phenomenal shape. Maybe the shape can't beat the juice. Maybe it can't. But if he can get takedowns on Musaev, or at least grind on him, I think he's probably going to have better top pressure than a Logan Storley. I think Umalatov's wrestling is pretty solid. Now, I just don't know that his cardio is going to hold up. Because you look at his fights throughout the season, definitely slows down in the third rounds. For a 5-round fight, if it goes into those championship rounds, I think it's a toss-up. I think it's a toss-up for cardio. So if I was going to bet this fight, I'd probably lean towards the underdog in Umalatov because I think you're paying a pretty high premium for Musaev. If you like Musaev, I'd maybe just take him by knockout. It's going to be really tough. I think this is a very tough fight to bet on, just considering where the odds are at. If it was a lot closer, then I would be leaning towards Musaev just because I think the dude is on crazy sauce. I hate betting against sauce. Okay, I hate betting on the guy that I just know is on some out-of-this-world sauce. If he pissed in a cup, it would burn through the pavement below. Okay, it's a very tough one for me. For a straight pick, I would probably take Musaev, but Umalatov at plus 200, I don't know that you're ever going to see that again. Like, who's he going to fight in the PFL that he's going to be plus 200 against? Nobody. And now all of a sudden this guy comes in, gets a couple knockouts, and beats a guy by decision that he's already knocked out. Now he's a near 3-1 favorite against Umalatov. Very weird to me. Maybe I'll have to sprinkle on Umalatov just because I think it's probably the right side, but it is one of those where you probably play it, goes out there and gets knocked out, and then you're just like, I guess this guy's sauce is just too good. But that's a long-winded breakdown for that fight, but I think it's probably the best fight on the card. Very, very high-level matchup. 2 guys undefeated. We'll move on. All right, light heavyweight championship here. We got Impa Kasangany and Dovletyan Yagshimuradov. This one, it has me scratching my head because Impa's been a big favorite against a lot of guys, and he's not a super big favorite here. Let me just check out these odds. Again, you're probably going to get better odds somewhere else, but Impa minus 175. I thought he would maybe be like minus 200 or more because Yagshimuradov, he's had some losses in Bellator to where I could see Impa implementing a very similar game plan. And maybe this is just a lot of respect on Yagshimuradov because he's coming off the win to Rob Wilkinson. Rob Wilkinson had never lost in the PFL. I was at the fight. I bet on Yagshimuradov at like plus 140, I think it was. And he won the fight, but it was a very boring fight. Like, Yagshimuradov is a boxing wrestler who doesn't take risks. He has decent power on the feet, but he will lull you into this point striking match where he's probably just going to get the better of the exchanges. The thing with Impa, he's like very high pressure. He's in your face. He throws a lot of combinations, and he's willing to slug it out in the pocket. So if he can implement that, get Yagshimuradov uncomfortable in there, then I think he can have a lot of success. The thing with Impa, though, is that he's been through a good amount of wars. So can his durability hold up against Yagshimuradov, who has a pretty dangerous overhand right, pretty good timing? He is the older guy. Yagshimuradov is the older fighter in this one. But I think his speed is still pretty solid at his age. If he can implement some wrestling on Impa, I don't really see it happening because I think Impa's anti-wrestling has gotten pretty good. I don't think Yagshimuradov is the greatest wrestler out there. I think if anything, Impa would try to shoot some takedowns on Yagshimuradov just to get him off his timing, because what he wants to do is just kind of dance around the cage, get his timing, and hit you with a few shots, move around. Again, once you get close to him, hit him with a couple big shots, keep moving. And maybe that doesn't work out in a 5-round fight because that moving style, eventually you're going to slow down, especially at light heavyweights. You're not going to be able to fight off the back foot for 25 minutes. You're going to slow down. So I think that's kind of where Impa's pace and pressure comes into play here, to where, he might be getting touched up in the first round, in the second round, still having some success. But as the fight goes on, if he can not get knocked out, I think as the fight goes on, I think his pace and pressure is going to get to Yagshimuradov so that later in the fight, he's having a lot more success getting him pinned up against the cage, landing combinations. So I think Impa's probably the side here. And considering he's been here before, he's won the $1 million. Is there motivation? I'm sure. Like, it's $1 million. Why wouldn't you go out there and fight to the best of your abilities? You got to believe, like, Yagshimuradov has never had this opportunity before. I mean, he's probably fighting in Bellator for 30-30, 40-40. Now he's got a chance to win $1 million. Impa's already done that. So Yagshimuradov, very solid overall fighter, but I expected him to be a little bit bigger of an underdog here, if I'm being honest. So I think Impa is probably the side here. Minus 175, it's not too bad. So I'm going to take Impa for this one, and I'll probably be looking to place a bet on him because I think Muradov is maybe a popular underdog this week. Like, maybe Impa is the square side, but I think in a 5-round fight, if he doesn't get knocked out early, I think he wins. So take Impa. That brings us to the Women's Flyweight Championship of the World. This will be a very hot topic because Dakota Ditcheva is the golden child of the PFL right now. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if they're looking for something to separate themselves, they have to bring in some type of name or build up some type of name that gives them something different from like the UFC. And obviously having one of the best fighters in the world that is a woman kind of brings them that. So if I'm the PFL, I probably want Dakota Ditcheva to win. If Tyler Santos comes in here, wins $1 million after, I don't know if she got dropped from the UFC. I think she got cut. I think she had some visa issues and it just didn't work out. But if she comes over from the UFC and then wins $1 million in the PFL, it's kind of a knock on PFL. So I know the PFL is rooting for Dakota Ditcheva in this spot. There's no doubt about that. Take a look at the betting odds. Ditcheva's minus 425. It's Tyler Santos plus 275. And that speaks volumes to me, okay? Because Tyler Santos, we all remember her for going tit for tat with Valentina Shevchenko, who is now the UFC champion, got her belt back, and people would argue to say that she beat Valentina Shevchenko. And Valentina Shevchenko at her base is a very solid kickboxer who has very solid wrestling to back it up. Tyler Santos won the early rounds. I think she got headbutted. Her eye started to swell up, and she lost the later rounds, lost the fight. Ditcheva's still very young in her career. I mean, for her to be a minus 400 favorite to a girl like Tyler Santos, who has fought for a UFC world title and arguably won it, is insane to me. But it's all potential. Like, Ditcheva has looked nothing short of impressive in like all of her fights. Like, she's very dangerous. She's massive for the weight class. I don't think she has the greatest takedown defense. I don't know that she has the best get-up game. Because in her last fight against Jenna Bishop, she got taken down. She got controlled for a good amount of time, but then she got back up, and she's just vicious on the feet. Like, when she pins you up against the cage, you're in big trouble. She's going to land nasty knees. She's going to land nasty combinations to the head, to the body. The way she rips the body is pretty nasty for a woman. Like, this woman actually has some of the most dangerous striking I've seen. Now, we're going to get to see it on a much higher scale here against Tyler Santos, who Tyler Santos is a solid striker herself. But in her back pocket, she has pretty solid wrestling, pretty solid jiu-jitsu. And I think she's definitely the best grappler that Ditcheva has fought. You know, Jenna Bishop is a pretty solid grappler, but she's not too experienced in her professional MMA career. She has better jiu-jitsu when it comes to competitive jiu-jitsu, like jiu-jitsu tournaments, very accomplished in that aspect. But I don't know that in MMA, she has the best jiu-jitsu. For me, this is a dog or pass fight, man. I'm not laying minus 400 on Dakota Ditcheva for a girl that's that young in her career, that hasn't fought the best competition. They've given Ditcheva the best matchups they could possibly give her throughout her entire career. This season, throughout the regular season, they gave her a layup the first fight. They did the matchups the second round around. They gave her the easiest matchup. They wanted her in the playoffs. They wanted to make sure she was the number one seed so that she didn't have to fight a Liz Carmouche or a Tyler Santos to get into the championship. They made her the number one seed based on the matchups. She went out there and got it done. Jenna Bishop, very young in her career. Not a young fighter, but very unexperienced in her professional MMA career. And, you know, she doesn't have the greatest striking. I think Tyler Santos can give her a good run for her money. You know, if she can avoid getting knocked out in the first round or second round, then what does it look like? You know, I don't know that Tyler Santos has the best cardio, but she has the 5-round experience. Ditcheva does not. She probably has the better grappling, better wrestling. In the clinch, she has to watch out for the knees. If she can get her clinch going up against the cage to where Tyler Santos is in position, just kind of wear on Ditcheva and use those 5 rounds to win her this fight at plus 275, she's the value side, bro. Like she is. So I am leaning towards Tyler Santos. She should not be this big of an underdog against Dakota Ditcheva. I think Ditcheva is very, very good. But I think this is minus 400 is just a little bit too much too soon. So that's what I got on that one, man. Women's MMA. We'll see. I'm just very shocked that she's minus 400. Very, very shocked. Let's move on. Final fight of the night. Featherweight Championship. Brendan Loughnane and what is his first name? Timur Khizriev? Yeah, Timur Khizriev. I just know him as Khizriev. Or Khizriev. Solid fight. I mean, the V here has never lost. He's undefeated. And he looks flawless. Okay, he's one of these Dagestani guys that, doesn't take risks. He'll fight his way to a decision on the feet. He'll mix in some wrestling, and he's just going to beat you. Loughnane, on the other hand, been here, done that, won the PFL Championship before. He's had a great PFL career. He's been a company guy for a long time, but I think this is a very, very tough matchup, man. I think Khizriev at minus 350, there's a lot of respect on the side for Loughnane. And, maybe in a 5-rounder, Loughnane can grind him out and start to take over in those later rounds, but I think Khizriev's just going to be too much. I think on the feet, his movement is very solid. He's very fast. He's going to be able to be in and out, and when he wants to, he can level change and get a takedown. Like, Loughnane is nasty, but he has to have the right dance partner to where he can stay in his face. He can land combinations. He can land knees. He can land elbows. He can push him up against the cage, make it a little bit dirty. I just don't think that Khizriev is going to fall into that type of fight. I think he's going to want to keep it clean from the outside. He's going to want to hit his level changes when he sees the opportunity. He's going to get him to the ground. He's going to win the rounds, and he'll probably win a decision here. So this is a pretty short one for me. At the betting odds, at minus 350, not a ton to bite off there because Loughnane is very good, but I honestly think in these spots where you have a guy in Brendan Loughnane who's won the $1 million before, he's been the poster child for PFL for a long time because he's been so dominant in the featherweight division outside of last year. I think it's his ride. I don't really see, like, if I put a bet on Brendan Loughnane, I think you're just taking it based off the name. I think his ride probably goes in there, wins most of the rounds, maybe a 49-46, 50-45 type of decision. So at minus 350, I don't think it's too terrible. Maybe a nice little parlay piece. And if you have it in a parlay, maybe you could just hedge out. If you have it in a long parlay, you could hedge out at the end with the big plus money on Loughnane. But that's what I got on that one, boys. Khizriev for me. That'll be the betting breakdown. Hopefully you enjoyed the betting breakdown. A little bit different thing here on the channel. Wanted to try it out for the PFL. Let me know if you enjoyed down in the comments below. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you got some value from this video. And we'll be back pretty soon here with the early picks for UFC 310. Good luck on Friday if you're betting PFL. Till next time, hey, Jab Picks.